Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. So we've just got one piece of news here, but it's a relatively big one. We have preview pages for the upcoming Avatar Free Comic Book Day 2025 comic. So we have the Samurai Appa and Ronin Momo story, Ramen Rumble. We have 5 pages from what I assume to be a 10 or 12 page comic. I don't think we know for sure. We get some other details here, like we finally learn what the creative team is overall. But for those of you who maybe missed the kind of news previously on this, we've known for a while now Avatar's going to be part of the Dark Horse Free Comic Book Day book. Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures has the cover. We are just the kind of also featured, but you can see here they are giving it the preview, which is kind of interesting to Avatar. The description, again, we've had this for quite a while, so we have known that this is what the story is actually going to be about. Samurai Appa and Ronin Momo roam the Four Nations, righting wrongs wherever they go in Avatar The Last Airbender, Ramen Rumble. The Sky Bison and Winged Lemur find themselves at a besieged Fire Nation noodle house where some of the clientele are tougher customers than the owner would like. Can the duo bring some order to chaos and maybe earn themselves lunch in the process, or will they be out on their tails? Immediately, the second I saw this description, I kind of knew that, like, I don't think this book is going to be for me. It's probably going to be a little bit of fun, but I do expect from with the evidence being previous Free Comic Book Day books that, yeah, I expect a little bit more substance to these books, because this is where we got the Korra Naga backstory. We got books like Clearing the Air, which are really strong, Rebound, Shells, and the kind of list goes on. Like, yeah, there's some of them that aren't maybe as great. Like the 2023 book Lost and Found was not very strong, like, at all. It was a very not memorable story. So it's been somewhat hit and miss, but I think there's been more hits than misses. And I just don't quite understand why they went with this approach. Look, it's one of those things where, like, I get it, these characters, in terms of, like, it's a fun meme thing from Nightmares and Daydreams, but, like, did you really need to give them their own comic? In terms of, like, it creates a really weird, almost like continuity point, because you can see from the first page that it looks like we don't open up with a clear suggestion that this is just like Aang dreaming about this. Maybe as the book comes to an end, they reveal that's the kind of premise, that's the reason that this is happening. But if they just play this completely straight and it's just start to finish these two in their own world, I'm kind of like, what are we doing here with this? Like, I do think there's a little bit of a sense where, like, can we just let some of the Avatar kind of meme, kind of funny, kind of joke things just be what they are and not need to expand them out? Some stuff, like, of course, the Cabbage Merchant, they've managed to expand him out in a good way, where there's actual, like, lore. He connects into Korra and, you know, he has his own business, that sort of thing. That works, but I'm not sure you needed to go overboard with Samurai Appa and Ronin Momo. Like, cool moment in the episode, but let's calm it down a little bit otherwise, because again, I think this stuff could have been, this book, these 10 pages or whatever, could have been used to tell a more interesting story somewhere that's a little bit more impactful. But we'll see what it is. We'll get into those in just a second. The creative team is that it's written by Brandon Huang, who I don't believe has been on Avatar before, at least that I remember. Art is by Belle Bessa, colors by C.E. Chant, and letters by Jimmy Betancourt. So that's the creative team. I think the art actually looks really, really good. I just think, like, I really would have preferred this art be done for something that I think is just a little bit more interesting. Look, it looks like we're building up to some sort of a fight where the preview comes to an end. I'm sure the art will be quite strong when the fight actually happens. It's just, yeah, I kind of would have liked this to be about some of our characters that we know a little bit better, just hitting home a bit of a more interesting point. Let's get into the preview pages. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, because I just think, I feel like I'm wasting my time a little bit reading through some of this dialogue, because it's so basic and there's nothing here in my mind. So yeah, they're hungry, but it's actually only been a few hours. There's a bit of backstory here where like they've previously been to the Southern Water Tribe and the Earth Kingdom, helping people. The world is at war, so they do establish that the war is going on. They seem to highlight that the Fire Nation is still the villain in all of this. They find their way to the Noodle House. They don't have any money, but they are deep in Fire Nation territory, so they have to be cautious. They're not going to get food for free, but maybe they have an opportunity by dealing with the rowdy Fire Nation soldiers here. And that seems to be where the preview comes to an end, with them getting a bit aggressive, but Ronan Momo being ready to fight. And I'm guessing the rest of the book is these two jump into action, probably a pretty impressive fight scene where they do maybe get to go more all out. They, I guess, will earn their lunch, I guess. And at least for me, I kind of hope they do end it with an Aang wakes up and is just like, hey, another one. Why do I keep dreaming about Appa and Momo going on their own like adventures, talking to each other? That would, to me, make it at least like a build up to just a pretty nice joke. But again, like I said, if they just play it the whole time through, it's just a story about Samurai Appa and Ronin Momo, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed in terms of just like, what are you doing? And I think that's part of it as well. It's just that like the whole point of Nightmares and Daydreams was that like it was a bit over the top. And I think they're playing it way too neutral here. It's not even like funny. And it seems like what's actually happening here, apart from just the visual of the characters, there's nothing particularly like weird going on like you'd maybe expect in a sort of non-canon style story like this. And it's just odd the whole time through. Like the dialogue, it's like, I guess that roughly fits. Like Appa's a bit more kind of stoic, wise, and then Momo's the one kind of going out there and making stuff happen. But there's not really much here to kind of latch onto, and given that I'm assuming the rest of it's mostly action, I'm not really sure what's going on. So yeah, I already kind of had a feeling that like this was not going to be the most kind of anticipated comic review I was ever going to do building up to Free Comic Book Day, which again, by the way, is May 3rd. So that is in just 8 days. It is next Saturday. It's not tomorrow. It's tomorrow next week. So, you know, we're not far away at all. If you have a comic book store nearby that's participating in the event, you should be able to go down there and pick up a copy of this book. Remember, it is the one with Star Wars on the cover and just the Avatar logo on the bottom, just so you know. But yeah, I'll review it as soon as I can get my hands on the full thing, but I don't think it's going to be a particularly long or in-depth review, just because it seems pretty clear from about half the book. There's not really much there. So what more is there to really say? The only other thing I suppose I will mention is just that this is now, I believe this puts us at 3 Avatar short stories that are now going to be out, but not collected in anything. As in, you cannot buy a book and it will feature the last 3 Avatar stories. So that would be this, Matcha Makers, and also Lost and Found, the Toph and that little girl story from 2023. We have no idea if they're building up to doing another short story collection where they can put these in with some news stories, but I guess this goes on the list for whenever they maybe do that again. Because I'm assuming they do want to have a situation where they have all of the books that have been released printed somewhere in a book that you can get. They've been pretty good with that basically everywhere else, and it really has only been these Free Comic Book Day books that have been a bit like, I missed it on the day, how do I get a hard copy of this story? Well, we're waiting for a new book to happen, basically. And yeah, it's just another situation where, like, it's an odd... I don't know how they make the decision about what these short story books are for Free Comic Book Day. It seems completely random. Like that you go from the Iroh one, which was actually somewhat notable and interesting because you're focusing in on him and his tea shop and the kind of comic kind of time period. The Lost and Found one was a little bit odd, but like at least it was canon and had like a core to it, then this is just one of the jokey meme things given fleshed out into a full story. It's like, okay, that's fine. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I don't want to be too negative on this because look, I get it. It's just a short story. The story for me doesn't really have to be for me isn't really doing it. For other people, they might lean more into the idea that it's really fun and that sort of thing. I just feel I would much prefer something more in the vein of the Korra Naga story than what this one is about. Especially because these books are meant to be in that position of like, it's a free look into Avatar comics with the idea that people will then look into the other Avatar comics and purchase them. And this doesn't seem particularly representative of the rest of the line, is the other thing I would say here. It's not a preview necessarily for anything else, and it just seems so far out there in terms of what it's doing that it doesn't seem like an effective preview story necessarily. Because there's no suggestion, I think, like from the article here, that this is part of anything bigger. So it just seems like it is just a random short story. So yeah, we'll get the full thing in just over a week, and we'll see how it is in full. But I gotta admit, full honesty, not super impressed with what I'm seeing so far. Outside of the art, which I think is very, very good. But the actual story, not much here, it seems like. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But otherwise, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.